Good morning, all. I'm James Katiri, Local Director for Metro Bank. Welcome to our seminar in association with A4G Chartered Accountants. So we've called it Making Money in the Pandemic Normal. Hopefully, a lot of you are already making money in this new world. But if not, hopefully Malcolm Palmer, Managing Partner at A4G, will have a few useful hints and tips about managing your business and helping it progress. Throughout the seminar, questions can be answered. It can be asked in the Q&A box. I'll be hosting the Q&A session with Malcolm at the end. So if you have any questions, please do drop them in the box, and we'll look to cover them off at the end of the slides. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to explain a bit more about Metro Bank if you haven't heard of us before, but also really what we've been doing in the pandemic to try and help customers and the kind of trends we're seeing going forward, the requests that we're seeing. So hopefully you can all see my slides. Obviously, put in the box if you're having any issues, and we've got a couple of the A4G team helping us out. So that's our head office in Holborn. It's currently a lot quieter, unfortunately, than it has been. So we were the first new high street bank in over 100 years, offering banking focused on personal and business customers, very much a face-to-face model, with the ultimate goal of becoming the SME bank of choice. We allow customers to bank online, face-to-face, in-store, over the telephone, or by mobile. So that's 7 days a week in store, 24/7. Generally, we've been open 8 till 8. However, with the recent changes in government guidance, that is currently working at 9 to 5, Monday to Saturday, and slightly reduced hours on Sunday. So since launching in 2010, Metro Bank has built a network of 77 stores, pretty much spanning the whole of England and Wales now. So we are as far north as Sheffield and Yorkshire, and we will be opening Bradford and a couple of other stores next year in the north of England. We were one of the, you will have seen other banks closing branches. Lloyds recently announced that it's going to be closing a further 60 odd stores. But we actually opened 2 new stores in the pandemic. So firstly, Sheffield opened, and a second store in Cardiff opened, and they've been really well received, although it's been slightly challenging making people aware that places are actually open for business. We do everything from personal banking for young savers to high net worth individuals, everything in between. And of course, the focus for us at the moment is very much SMEs and how we can help build out coverage across the UK. One of the things we really pride ourselves on is the quality of service. As you can see here, from the August 2020 CMA survey results, we're very well regarded. We finished second in overall service quality. And we are right up there for the online and mobile banking services as well. So these results have been pretty consistent throughout the last 4 or 5 surveys since the CMA started this, and we're right up there consistently, which is testament to the good work of the local business managers, the store staff, and the relationship directors like myself. So why Metro Bank? Well, I think the main thing is the dedicated point of contact. We're available to meet face-to-face, over telephone, Teams nowadays, of course, or email. So you get a relationship director, business manager, access to the business service team. And if you take out something along the lines of asset finance or invoice finance, you'll also have a dedicated relationship manager there. Business accounts are opened in days, not weeks. So we can open them on the spot online. We can open them on the spot in store, and for your more complex accounts, your commercial switches, potentially 2 million turnover, multiple directors, maybe a slightly more complex ownership structure, with holding companies, etc., they'll take days, not weeks. That's actually, according to the last slide, that's now slightly incorrect, so I'll have to change that at some point. But as I said, very well regarded for the online platform. Complementary private banking offering for high net worth individuals, safety deposit boxes in every store. So, for example, our Ilford store has 6,000 safety deposit boxes. Orpington has the best part of 2,000. They are, if there was ever a fire, they'd be the last thing standing, and people love to keep everything from family jewels in there to business continuity plans. We also offer attractive deposit rates, including Best Buy 12-month and 18-month fixed terms. So flexible funding solutions, and this has really been key over the pandemic. So one of the main things for customers that we're hearing is that there's been a lack of relationship with other banks. So what that means is they might not have a dedicated point of contact, they might not have a relationship manager, and when they've come to need to speak about a bounce back loan, a CBILS, they haven't had a point of contact who they can pick the phone up to. We pride ourselves on the relationships we build with clients, and that people can pick up the phone to us and we can really get to understand their business. So we've been looking at we've done about 1.5 billion in bounce back loans. We've done significant numbers on the CBILS side as well. We've seen some clients starting to repay those because their businesses have recovered. So we had a client who repaid £250,000 in full. And this, we're seeing more requests coming in on a daily basis. Only yesterday I had a further 2 CBILS requests. So we're looking to process those as quickly as possible. On top of that, we're seeing people switch their banking to us because of the relationship piece, because they like the quality of platform. We offer overdrafts, business credit cards, commercial mortgages, commercial loans, asset finance and invoice finance. There's been a real uptick in customers who want factoring services. And that's a great way to grow the business longer term. The size of the facility can grow with the business. Metro Bank has quite a nifty feature in the fact that we're tied into you for a year, but the customer is only tied into us for 28 days. And we also offer it for all sizes of business. We also offer flexible and personal underwriting with a human-led approach. So what that means is it's not a computer says no, it's a educated discussion with the customer and the credit partner to see where we can get to. Finally, just before I hand over to Malcolm, switching your business accounts to Metro. People quite often think, do I really want to be going and switching my business? It can be quite complex, but with the current account switching service, as long as your business has less than 50 employees and an annual turnover below 6.5 million, we're guaranteed to have everything transferred within 7 days. So that means moving your payments, your direct debit, standing orders, making sure nothing's left behind, and most importantly, also putting a redirect on there for 3 years. So your old account will be closed down. If a supplier, for example, or a customer looks to pay money into your account, it will be automatically redirected to your new account. We also are getting towards the back end of the RBS incentivized switcher scheme. So if any of you are with RBS, you could well be entitled to significant cash incentives. So we've seen upwards of £60,000 for businesses switching over to, and it's not just us. There are 11 banks within it. Santander are no longer part of that. They've opted out. So in terms of high street presence, Metro Bank's probably the obvious one on there, but you also have your Handelsbank and various others. So I'll hand over to Malcolm. He's going to be talking about how you can make money in the new pandemic normal. And it's actually, we've just been having a chat before, and it's some of the things they've been seeing is really interesting. So Malcolm, I'll hand off to you. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please do put them in the box and we will look to cover them off at the end.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, James. That's let me just get my video going, and I'll share my screen. Wish I could be quicker on that technology, but hopefully that will work. So yeah, apologies. I know there's a few people that are on the webinar that know me quite well, so apologies for the next bit of introduction. My name is Malcolm Palmer. I run an accountancy practice called A4G. We're a few miles down the road from Brands Hatch on the A20. Been going for 25 years. This will be the 26th year of the business. We have never had a year where we didn't grow, although 2020 might be touch and go. It's been our pandemic normal has been a lot of work that we would have normally expected to do. We haven't done, but an awful lot of work that we would never have expected to do, we have done. You know, helping our clients with all of the challenges that they've had this year. Our practice has got about 50 people in it. We take on trainees straight out of school and university every single year. We've taken on 4 this year, and many of those work their way through and become qualified accountants. So 2 of my 3 partners had their first job in accountancy with us. One was straight out of school 22 years ago. So that's A4G. Made me feel slightly nostalgic, that picture that James had up there, because I was wearing a tie, and it doesn't feel like I've worn a tie much this year. This has sort of been my prison for the last 8 months, most of the time. The offices are open. I don't know about all of you, how the pandemic has affected you in practical terms, but for us, we've got our staff sort of spread all over the place. We've got about 10 people going in every day, and the rest of us, like me, are working from home and having most of their meetings on Zoom. Just one last little apology. Being at home, you know, we do have a few extra challenges. So it is bin day today, and they normally turn up in about 10 minutes time. So if there's any sort of loud noise outside, that will be the explanation. Anyway, enough about A4G and our pandemic normal. What about yours? And now I'm sure back in January, there were a whole load of questions that you would never have found yourself expecting to be asking. At the moment, some of you will have to be making some decisions about who you bring back from furlough, what the turnover of the business is likely to be, what the capacity is going to be. And I guess there's some really hard decisions that are going to have to be made. The extension of the furlough may have kicked that particular can down the road, but there's no doubt that at the end of all of this, we are going to be faced with a recession and a downturn for a couple of years, and it's unlikely that for many industries that you'll be able to keep your whole team at that capacity. So you need to start thinking about how you might need to reorganise the business so that you are operating on a tight team and are going to be at the very least at break-even point. That will involve some redundancies. The big cost in that is not necessarily the redundancy cost, but is often the notice period that you have to give. So, you know, whilst furloughing is going on, you know, if there is somebody that, you know, unfortunately you're not going to be able to keep, then and they've been with you for more than 12 years, then you've got to give them 12 weeks notice. Now that would be sort of the second week of January if we're looking at furloughing, supporting that cost. The next question is whether you're at your real break-even point. Now, everybody sort of knows what break-even point is, but very few businesses have actually calculated it properly. And particularly if you run a limited company, you know, you'll be taking a small salary and mostly dividends out of the business in that, you know, that tax efficient way. And it can often disguise what your real break-even point is. So I'm just going to quickly run through the calculation on here and just give you a little example. So, here's an example of somebody who's got £3,000 a month living costs. They've got other income coming into the house, maybe a spouse who's got a part-time job, or a grown-up child who still lives with them and makes a contribution. I know they're about as rare as hen's teeth, but on that basis, you'd need to be taking 2,325 from your business. So if that's going to come out as dividends, then there's going to be a little bit of tax on that, and that means you'd need to be making £2,500 coming out of the business as dividends, or £30,000 a year. So to do a break-even point, you kind of work backwards on the profit and loss account. So here's the dividends at the bottom. Therefore, that's the profit that you need to make after tax. The company will suffer £7,000 in corporation tax in order to be left with £30,000 after. So profit before tax of 37. If they've got overheads of £30,000, that means their gross profit would need to be 67,000. And if they've got a margin of 35%, you divide by that, and there's your turnover of 191,000. So that's how you should calculate it. There's a lot of variations of this. So what will catch people out is if they've had losses during this year, then they may have borrowed in order to fund those losses. So they could have taken a bounce back loan, or a CBILS loan, or there may be some other loans that are there, or maybe they've just stretched their supplier base and are now going to have to catch up. So whilst that might be a break-even point from a profit point of view, it might not actually be a break-even figure from a cash flow point of view. So in order to repay some of those outstanding amounts or capital amounts on loans, your actual cash flow break-even point might need to be actually higher than that. But that's a good start. If you've got that figure there, you know what you can work towards. And what a lot of our clients do, the vast majority of our clients are using Xero or Sage for their accounting software. My background was always in Sage. The first few years of my practice, we took on loads of clients who had Sage and never been properly trained on it. The last 6 or 7 years, increasingly everybody's moving across to Xero, just because the amount of time that it takes to operate that package with some of the automation in there, it is just drastically reduced. The quality of the reporting so much better. There's thousands of add-on bits of software doing all sorts of things, and might be industry based, and really revolutionizing the business. But whatever software you use, whether it's Sage, Xero, or one of the other packages that are out there, there should be some kind of budget facility that you can put figures into in order to compare what you've done for the last month with what your budgets were. Now, budgets may be an expected figure. Sometimes people just take last year's figures and add 5%. But what a lot of our clients are doing this year, and are going to use for the next couple of years, is to get these break-even figures, just like I've put down there. I know that those figures are fairly small in terms of turnover, and there might be some of you that are watching it that your turnovers are in the multi-millions. But whatever those figures are, you get that budget and you put it into the budget facility on your accounting system, and then you can produce a report that compares what you've actually done for the month with what your budget figures are. And that's so valuable. It's great to have a set of figures that tell you how your business is done, but they're almost meaningless if there's nothing to compare them to. And a lot of people like doing prior year reports because you can compare October 2020 with October 19. But of course, the pandemic has thrown that all out. This year is so completely different to any other year that comparing with previous years is not as valuable anymore. So that budget facility and getting those break-even figures in there will really give you something to discuss. And the discussion on those management accounts is the most important part of them, particularly if you're in a partnership or you've got some senior people, to just be able to say, look, these are the figures. Why do we think we've done better than expected? Why do we think we've done worse than expected? If it's the former, great, let's do more of it. If it's the latter, we need to change something. The one thing about monthly management accounts is, of course, that they're monthly, and it could be that it takes anything up to 3 weeks to get your management accounts out. And so if something's been going wrong within the business, then in week one, it might be 6-7 weeks later before you realise that it's actually been going wrong. So what we've got, and we do this for ourselves, A4G practices what they preach, but we've put into place some reporting mechanism for a number of our clients where they work out what we call their average daily turnover, and they work this out on a weekly basis. So if you want to know what you need to do every week, then you just take that break-even figure for the whole year, divide it by the number of working days. So 250 is typically that. So in that example, the average daily turnover required by that business will be £766. Now, that's going to be difficult to work that out every day, but you can definitely work it out every single week. You can, get to the end of the week. There's a simple if you're in a service business, the calculation is basically to say, let's look at what I invoiced last week. I add on my work in progress at the end of the week, and I take off my work in progress at the start of the week. If you're not sure about that or how to do it, my email address will be at the end. Just ping me an email. I'll email you that across. So we know, in this example, we need £766 per day in order to break even. We work those figures out at the end of the week. Most weeks are 5 days, of course, Monday to Friday, but sometimes there's bank holidays. You may want to cut off a month end as well, because you're going to need to do those figures for your month end accounts. But you get that stuff through, and now again you've got something to discuss on a weekly basis. Now, one of the clients that we've worked really closely with they were sort of jogging along quite nicely, and this is before the pandemic. And then one particular week, they just saw a little downturn in there, and I just asked the question, and I got, oh well, it's probably this, it's probably that, and nobody did anything. And then the following week, that downturn continued. Well, 1 week can be a one-off, but 2 weeks is a trend. So there was something clearly going on. And when they just started asking some questions, what they found out was that they just changed the procedures in the office. And a member of their team previously had been ringing up all the customers who'd been booked in for jobs the following week and just confirming the times with the customers. And all of a sudden that had stopped because they'd given the job to somebody else. And therefore what was happening was that guys were turning up at the jobs and people weren't ready, or even, a couple of times they said, oh, I'd forgotten that you were coming. Instead of the guys getting around to sort of 6 or 7 visits a day, I know this is a bit cryptic without telling you what they actually do, but something that, the productivity the guys had reduced simply because a set of Friday afternoon phone calls had stopped taking place. Now, immediately we were on that, the people in the office hadn't thought that was important, but actually it made a big difference. That particular company not only works out their average daily turnover for the business, it works it out per engineer day. So when we calculate how much turnover they've done for the week, they know how many guys they've got, but they look at how many days holiday they had the previous week, or maybe out training, etc. Compare their turnover to the number of days and work out an average daily turnover per person. And that is just an amazing tool. I mean, at one point, the figure was really high, and the owner of the business said, you know, it's almost too high now. The guys are on the edge. They can't actually do any more productivity than that. And it's unsustainable at that level. So it's been great to sort of find out what the limits of the business are. And, you know, and they took a bit of a kick in the first few months of the pandemic because most of their work dried up, but now they're back on it again and they're starting to catch up, and there's sort of this pent-up demand for what they do. So, you know, it's all those little changes that you make every week that they add up to a completely different outcome for your business. But of course, you know, it's critical that your financial reporting is good enough to do that. You know, it may be your software program, but more likely it will be down to the skills that your internal member of staff has got. And, you know, we do loads of work helping staff members of our clients to just do a better job on the bookkeeping, on the reporting, and no matter who it is, I can guarantee we'll be able to get them to do a little bit more than they're currently doing. So let's make the assumption that your problem is lack of turnover and you just need more business. And if that's the case, then we need to sort of think about sales and marketing strategies. Now, everybody calls it sales and marketing, but of course the reality is it should really be marketing and sales, because it's the marketing that comes first, the marketing that gets you those potential customers. That's all that marketing can do. It can only get you potential customers. It's the sales part that turns those potential customers into actual customers. And there's so much out there of, you know, different marketing things that you can do that I know for many business owners who have got no theoretical background in marketing, that they can often be sold a solution by just some company that they've just come into contact with somehow. And it's often a solution that's not right for them. What's crucial for your business is that you consider all the different types of marketing and find the right answers for you. So you've got to get your strategy right. Now, before you start doing any marketing, then the most important thing is to make sure you get yourself a database. There are loads of these little bits of software out there. If you use Xero as your accounts package, then there's quite a few add-on bits of software. I think there's one called Accelerate that a couple of clients use, but there's lots of other ones as well. And it may well be that the industry that you're in, there's a specialist package for your industry that is just designed exactly for what you want to do. Because you need to get information about all these potential customers. You need to capture the contacts that come in. You know, everybody's got a database of some kind. You know, it may be that it's in, you know, in here. Unfortunately, you carry this around in your back pocket, and your staff have no access to that, so that's no good. It may be that it's up here. Unfortunately, you carry that around with you as well. That's not available to your staff, so that's no good either. I remember visiting one particular client years ago, and basically their database of potential customers was a load of business cards pinned on the company notice board. You know, that's no good. You need to have all this captured in a modern bit of software so that you can do emails out to the customers, mail shots. You know, you can build information about them so that when you come to the sales point, you've got everything you need to know about them. And this stuff is not expensive. You can spend thousands on it, or you can spend a couple of £100. You know, there are some really cheap, good bits of sales database packages around. So just don't do anything else until you've got that database right. Then you've got to think about how you're capturing potential customer details. So just look at the places where they contact you. Do they come into the website, an inquiry box? Is it the phone calls? You know, are your staff trained to ask the right questions when a potential customer calls? Do they have a way of putting that information down so that it will find its way into the database. And when you've got that right, then you need to start thinking about which of the 3 main marketing strategies are right for you. So the first one is what we would call inbound. Now, the thing with marketing is that different people call different, use different names for different things. So we've sort of clarified this down to these 3. But when I talk about inbound, I'm talking about when people contact you. Now, the classic inbound marketing activity, in days gone by, would have been advertising. It would have been put in adverts in the local newspaper so that people will ring up or visit your premises, or it might be a billboard, TV adverts, radio adverts, etc. That is inbound marketing. And the classic quote was, I know that 50% of the money that I spend on advertising is a waste. I just don't know which 50%. So it can be very random, and it's difficult to target that. But if you get it right, then it can bring you in a lot of business. So, of course, nowadays, search engine optimization is perhaps the most important inbound technique, particularly during the pandemic when nobody's going to visit your premises. It's all about people finding you on Google. And you can teach yourself this stuff. There's articles online, there's tutorials, and some of it's reasonably obvious. Some of it is just demonstrating a bit of empathy with the potential customers and thinking to yourself, what things are they going to type into Google when they are looking for the thing that I provide? So they're not going to type your name in. They don't know what your name is, but they may type in, if they're looking for a local widget provider, and they're in West Kingsdown, then they're going to type in West Kingsdown widgets, and the website that will come up at the top, well, obviously there'll be the ones that have the sponsored ads, but I think most of us tend to flick past those and go for the first one that's not a sponsored ad. The one that will come up at the top is the one that uses that term the most, as long as you haven't sort of fallen foul of some of Google's algorithm rules. So, there was a few little cheat techniques that people used to use in the past. But, if your website doesn't mention the word widgets on a regular basis and doesn't say West Kingsdown, then somebody searching West Kingsdown widgets is not going to find you. And now, that's a very simplistic version. Because Google doesn't just base it on those words. It will be looking at how often the content on your site is updated. It'll be looking at the size of your site. It'll be looking at the number of links that come into your site. This stuff's a black art, and I wouldn't pretend to be a complete expert on it, but I've learned enough to be able to make the right decisions for A4G. If you spend thousands of pounds on a website and then do nothing with it for 2 years, your website will slowly start to drift down the Google rankings. It needs to be updated regularly. The next thing you've got to think about is, what is that potential customer going to find when they land on your website? So, this is their first impression of you, and you've got an opportunity to massively punch above your weight. You might only be 3 or 4 people in your organization, and you might be competing against organizations that have got thousands of people, but nobody necessarily knows that when they land on your site, or maybe somebody is actually looking for that. Think again, use that empathy to look at it through the customer's eyes. Don't just look at your website and say, I'm really proud of that, it says this, that, and everything else about us, but actually, is that what the customer wants to know? Often what the customer wants to know is answers to the questions that they've had, solutions to the problems that they've got. If your website demonstrates that you are the people to provide those answers and solutions, then that will keep them there. Once you've got them there needs to be some kind of call to action. So, the simplest one might be that you've got an article on your website. When you get to the bottom, it says, if you have a problem with this, call us on this number. But it might be an inquiry box where they actually type in their details and you promise to call them back, etc. And that then gives you the opportunity for a bit of data capture. So for somebody to make that inquiry, they need to put 1 or 2 bits of information in, and that data will be captured and will come back onto your database. Now, the last type of inbound activity is social media, and I've deliberately put a question mark against that particular point because, I think it's really easy to get carried away with social media and just spend, or maybe have a member of staff that's just spent hundreds of hours tweeting this, that, and everything else. But you've got to get the right medium for you, and different businesses have different mediums that are appropriate. So, for example, if you're providing professional services, then to other professionals, then probably LinkedIn would be a great place to find those people. So make sure your profile on LinkedIn is good and it's got regular updates and maybe a little bit of video, etc. But if you're selling bespoke jewellery, for wedding rings or something like that, then or you're selling fitness training gear, and you've got you want to demonstrate how good you are at all of these exercises in this amazing gear that you're wearing, then something like Instagram would be a much better place to be focusing on. Whatever you do, just don't spread everything across every single medium. I know there's bits of software that can make that a little bit easier, but it's about focusing on something that on a social media platform that is the right medium for your business. So the next thing we've got is outbound, and outbound is when you go out contacting those people. So the traditional way would be mail shots. Go back 20 years, we were all inundated with mail shots. That is an art in itself. I'm sure we've all opened mail shots from organisations that say, "Dear Sir, first mistake," and then it says "we are," and it starts to just talk about the company sending the mail shot. Well, if you're on the receiving end of a mail shot, you're not interested in that. All you're interested in is yourself. So a mail shot needs to talk to the recipient. More likely is that you're going to be doing some kind of e-shots out there to the database, which is hopefully you've followed the right rules on GDPR, and maybe you're following up with that with some kind of telemarketing as well. Again, you've got some legislation to comply with, but it's all about you going out and contacting those potential customers. Emails, of course, can be part of an inbound marketing strategy because they may be designed to just touch people and bring them into your website or social media platforms. So email can be used in either. But the one that most people forget or don't think hard enough about is the one that actually probably brings in most business for you, which is referral. A lot of you will do very little marketing, but will still get new customers because you do a great job. And I did an article earlier in the summer about selling to the grey market, and I used my mum as the example of the potential customer that you might be looking for. And my mum always says when she's got somebody, a plumber that's coming or someone to fix the drains or whatever, they must be good. They don't advertise. Which always sort of makes me chuckle really, because what she's saying is that they get all their business from referral, so people would only refer them if they were good. But of course that makes it tricky if you're starting out and you're trying to build up a customer base. So, but there are things that you can do to encourage referral. One would be ask customers for referrals. There are lots of people out there that like to help you. If you've done a good job for somebody, And that's the best question to ask first. You know, are you happy with everything we've done? Hopefully they'll say yes. If they say yes, just say, well, you know, we're trying to grow our business. If there's any of your friends or colleagues, etc., that would be interested, perhaps you could pass on our details. The other thing you do is find third parties in complementary fields. So one of the professionals that I work with is an insolvency practitioner, fantastic lady, known her for 20 years. Most of her business will come from referrals from accountants rather than direct, because you know, we know the clients that are in trouble and they need her services. So, you know, what other businesses are there that could refer you? And maybe, you know, maybe you can help them as well. Maybe there's a cross referral going on. You know, the classic thing would be the plumber and the electrician. So, you know, they're both doing their own thing, but they identify the need for the other services and they refer them in. And some of that will come from networking as well. You know, you sort of want to build up your network of contacts. And over time, you get to a point where the business is just coming to you. My sort of younger members of our team that are building up their client bases, you know, they're quite active marketing wise, going out looking for business. You know, those of us with sort of grey hair and no hair, I've got a big enough network these days that enough new work just comes to us through that referral network to meet what we need to do. So what I thought I'd now do is introduce you to a couple of my colleagues. They hate me for doing this, by the way, but I think I need to just stop sharing the screen, and then if they click that we can see them, hopefully that will work. So this is Amanda and Aisha. Amanda is our referral marketing manager. Aisha is our inbound marketing manager. One of our colleagues, Gemma, she looks after the outbound stuff, but actually we've sort of canned our outbound stuff during 2020, and Gemma is solving all sorts of other problems for us in the practice at the moment. So first, I thought perhaps I'll just start with Amanda. You know, Amanda does quite a bit of networking, and obviously 2020 has been a bit of a different year on that front. So, you know, Amanda, what sort of work have you found yourself doing during the pandemic?
Well, some of the things I've been changing up is I used to run lots of seminars, and now hence I'm doing webinars, which we are all on, which I just find that easier to adapt as well. This is actually the third webinar that we've run this month, with joint collaborations. For instance, the first one was transport compliance. So it was all to do with if you've got a commercial vehicle, which you're compliant. We had an commercial insurance broker on there explaining how to save money on your insurance. We had the grants guy on there talking about the grants. And then last week we had a webinar with the Bank of England. And this week we're here with Metro Bank. So that's been really good because you all know, you're all sitting here on the webinar, it's just easy just to log on onto the webinar and just show up. With seminar, you have to drive there. I do, however, miss the interaction with people before and after though. So that's one of them. Another one that I've been doing is a lot more on LinkedIn, connecting with people on LinkedIn, for instance. We do lots of R&D claims. I've linked up with lots of patent attorneys because anyone that will go into a patent attorney's office will more likely have an R&D claim. So we've been working with them because they've been enhancing their clients that are coming into the door, offering the R&D claim. They're getting referral credits. It's just, yeah, it's just been working really, really well. In regards with networking, I've been attending my networking groups, obviously not face to face. It's been online like this. I really, really, really do miss the interaction with people and seeing people in the flesh. But you know, we're lucky that we've got this technology and we're actually be able to still connect with people, still make new connections. I think what you've got to try and do is still be yourself. I know when you meet a person, you know, in real life, it's easy to sort of build that connection and feel relaxed. You know, if you go out for lunch or go coffee, you relax. So on Zoom, it's a little bit different, but I think you've got to just be true to yourself and just be yourself. And it doesn't have to just talk about business. You have to build that relationship up with people as well.
And would you say that you perhaps made more contacts as a result of having to do everything across Zoom or whatever than you would have done actually if it was all being done face to face?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've spent more time now making more contacts because I've just adapted the way I've been working, and it's just easier to find more contacts, especially in my networking groups. You know, there's been a lot of new influx of people joining these because it's easier to attend, and it's a good little taster session for people. I know it's not going to be the same as it is in the room face to face with a room of 50 people, but at least you can get to meet other people as well. And I'm very much like, you know, you go into a networking group, you can have two mindsets. You can be, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to sell, which doesn't really work, and you might get one warm lead. My mindset is I like to work with other people, the collaboration. So I find where the synergy is with someone, and then we can work both together as being each other's professional referral sources. So you can utilize each other's databases. You can do lots of cross work with each other to help out each other's client database. And then you get lots of more nice warm leads.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Amanda. So Aisha has been ridiculously busy all summer, particularly in the first few months when we were actually sending out emails 7 nights a week. So, you know, Aisha, do you want to just sort of give everybody a little overview of what you've been up to since March?
And I'm sure anyone that is a client or is on our list will know exactly what we've been doing, because at 8 p.m. every day, they have had an email from us. So we've always provided the free advice, and we've always been about providing our knowledge and always updating our website. Obviously, since COVID's hit, we've upped that. We stepped that up a lot. As Malcolm said, 7 days a week, 8 p.m, we were sending out an email. Obviously, we just shifted our strategy in that way because it's been a confusing time. It's been a hard time for businesses. There's been a lot of decisions that you've needed to make that it's obviously been really difficult. So for us, that was the right step to just provide more advice, whether it was videos. We did a few videos. We stepped it up on social media as well, because since everyone's obviously been at home, the uses of social media has just skyrocketed. Everyone is on social media. And as Malcolm said before, we've had a few moments over the last 4 years where we have come to heads with social media. As Malcolm said, he's not 100% that it's the best method for our marketing, but I think we have found a good balance. And it's not just like, we may not get leads from social media. We could put 10 posts out a week and we may not get anything back. But it's always about kind of seeing what else that does. So it's kind of like, it's another touch point. It's another touch point with someone. It's also search engine optimization. It's getting our website up in the search engines more. So yeah, and obviously we've been focusing on a lot more webinars and done a lot more of those, as Amanda said. So it's just been shifting what we've done, really.
It's been really interesting because, you know, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've got out has been directly, you know, relevant to helping people, and it's been received really well. We've got a fantastic list of testimonials. But interestingly, one of the things that Aisha put up, one of our colleagues has been with us for 25 years. He was the first person that I employed after I took over the practice, and we just put a little thing up on social media where the office was open and everybody was in, and we bought him a gift, and you know, just made a bit of a fuss of him, and we just put that up on social media, and it kind of went And everybody was commenting, all sorts of people that we'd never met before or heard of, were just commenting about, oh, what a lovely thing to do for one of your staff. So, you know, although most of it is directly relevant to helping the clients with the sort of things that we do, you know, you can kind of make it a bit more human as well. As long as it's not too trivial, that will give the impression that you want to give. And there was one of the things I was going to mention at the start, which Aisha is aware of, and I forgot to mention, but this is a really good point to mention it, which is we entered some awards. They're called the Accounting Excellence Awards. They're sort of industry awards that are done every year, and one of the categories was called COVID Hero. You know, just what accountancy firms have done to help their clients. So I'm really proud to announce that as of yesterday, we got told we were in the 4 finalists for that particular award. So and you know, most of that is down to Aisha and all of the things that she did. So we've got another 4 months till we find out whether we'll win. And I'm not quite sure how you do an awards ceremony when you're sitting at a desk in your house, but I feel a bit of an idiot in the dinner jacket and bow tie, but you know, you never know. But that as well is is sort of almost creating marketing out of our marketing. And you know, I'm pretty sure that if you receive our emails, you'll see 1 or 2 mentions about our nomination, because good publicity for us, etc. If we all go quiet on that front in February, you'll know we didn't win. But you know, the top 4 is pretty good on that front. So the other question I was just going to ask I'll ask Amanda first. You know, there's so much stuff you can do, Amanda. So how do you prioritise what you do?
Well, it's all about return on investment. So you've got to think, okay, so the next activity, what I'm going to do is how much am I going to get out of the time that I've invested in that? Hence, again, networking. You're going to go into a networking group. You're just going to sell. You're going to get 1 lead. If you go in there and you find some really good synergy, a professional referral source that you can work together, that's going to be a real big investment of your time, because that's longevity there. You can work together in a lot of ways. You can utilize each other's databases, and to me, that's a really good return on investment, and that's what you should always be thinking of. My next hour, what I'm going to do, what's the best return on my time that I'm going to achieve?
Brilliant. So I'm conscious, actually, I've sort of overrun a little bit on some of my previous stuff, but we're going to come back to the question and answer session at the end. I'm just going to skip through the last bit. So thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Amanda, for that. Hopefully they'll just be around for if we have any questions at the end. I think I've got to share my screen again. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, so if you've got those leads, you now need to turn them into sales. And in essence, there's 4 stages to the sales process: preparation, the needs analysis, finding out what it is that your potential customer needs, presenting those as a solution, and closing. One of my friends in the business he's in, he only has 1 closing technique. He says, so do you want it or not? But actually, a lot of people don't have any closing technique, and they just hope that having told the potential customer how wonderful they are, that the customer will just buy. But without a closing technique, you're not going to maximise the potential of your business. So we've got everything now. We need to turn that into a strategic plan. Now, you know, historically, I used to say to people, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? I think at the moment, 2 years is a more realistic goal. So that might be what turnover and profit do you want to be making, what your involvement in the business is. A lot of people, their goal is to be able to step back and not be working as many hours. You know, what major achievements might you want to have done in the next 2 years? Survival might be the answer, or perhaps it's to be industry leader. Where are you now in comparison? The best answer that I ever had on that was, we're a complete and utter bloody shambles, Malcolm. And this particular company, I'd always thought were quite well organised, but actually it just turned out that their bookkeeping was well organised. It was only when we sort of got into the day-to-day reality that I found out that they were indeed a complete and utter bloody shambles. What do you need to do to get from where you are now to where you want to be? And we'll often do these strategic planning sessions a whole morning or even a whole day, where we properly drill down into all the different parts of their business. But these are the things that you're going to need to do. And often you know the answers to this stuff. You just may need an external person to challenge you on them. And then lastly, what's stopping you from doing those things? Occasionally it is something very trivial that actually eats up your time and prevents you from doing the really big stuff. So, it may be that the first thing you need to do is just train your office junior to take away some of the admin tasks away from you so that you've got time to do the really big stuff. So we've pulled this all together into what we call the A4G Breakthrough and Recovery Programme. And basically, we're just helping our clients to rebuild after the pandemic in a profitable and efficient way, including identifying that real break-even point, their average daily turnover, creating a profit improvement plan and targets, streamlining their financial processes, improved reporting, addressing whatever short and medium term cash flow challenges they have, building a sales and marketing strategy, and then getting that strategic plan for the business and all the other stuff that comes with that. We've got some clients that we're working on this really actively, talking to them every week. We've got other clients that just dip in and out. We have a monthly phone call or a quarterly Zoom call. We're doing some of the bits for them that they don't have the skill set in-house to do. We're training a member of their team to do something so that they're self-reliant. There's 1,001 variations of the way that we can deliver that. So the next steps, if you don't get our nightly emails, then you can subscribe to them by just emailing inquiries@a4g-llp.co.uk. If you want details of the recovery programme, then you can email me. Just going to stop the share now, and James can turn his screen and microphone on. Was that useful, James? I don't know if,
I thought that was really good, and it was really useful to see how Amanda and the team go about their work as well. That was a really good insight that hopefully a lot of people will find useful. I can see that we haven't had too many questions actually. So has anyone got any questions? If you can just put them in the Q&A box, and then we'll look to answer those. But if not, I think that was really comprehensive and really good, and it was really good insight. So
it was so comprehensive, nobody has any questions at all.
Pretty much. Either that or you bored them, Malcolm, but I think it was really, really good.
Good, yeah. I know Aisha in particular will be pleased that she's not going to be put on the spot with any questions. But if anybody has got any question they need to ask, both Aisha and Amanda do a little bit of work for clients as well. It's not just for A4G. So they've got a handful of clients that they work with. Aisha's got one in particular she does regular work with, and a couple of others that just dip in and out with us helping them, again, to be sort of self-reliant. So, if everybody's happy with that, I'm going to have to turn my glasses on, put my glasses on.
So a couple of people have come through with stuff. A nice comment there from Maria, obviously. Thank you for the update. Glad to hear how you've adapted. Really useful and lovely to meet the team.
I'm laughing at the second one, actually. Graham,
Yeah.
I've been that.
As a micro business, how do you do all these things? Presumably prioritize.
Yeah, Graham. So I don't know if you've done any time management training, but the sort of the classic time management training is that there are everything that you potentially got to do. You have to question: is it urgent? Is it important? Right. So that means there's 4 types of activities that you're doing. There's stuff that is urgent and important. There is stuff which is urgent but not important. There is stuff which is important but not urgent. And there is stuff that is not urgent and not important, right? So the most people spend most of their time doing stuff that is urgent but not important. You know, that could be just answering emails or immediate stuff that that they feel needs to be done now, and they don't spend enough time on doing the things that are important and not urgent. And you know, so stuff that's important and not urgent is a micro business. That database, for example, you know, that's the sort of thing that, you know, you start off with good intentions at, you know, at 8 in the morning, and then suddenly, you know, normal day-to-day stuff is just taken over and you've never got around to doing it. Often some of those things are going to take you a bit of time. So you think, I need a whole afternoon to dedicate to them, and you know, what I need to say to you, you'll never get that whole afternoon. You need to think of that thing as identify that one thing that is the most important thing to do for your business, and think of that as the elephant that you've got to eat. And the way to eat an elephant is one chunk at a time. So you know, if I said to you, you know, can you find 15 minutes today to do the thing that is the most important thing for your business, but is not actually particularly urgent? I'm sure you'd say, yes, I could. So in that case, if that one thing is to get that database, then find 15 minutes to go onto Google, type in the industry you're in and databases, come up with a list of programs, and you know, a bit of research, 15 minutes of research. You'll find a few things, save some of the links, okay? Tomorrow, find that 15 minutes again, go and look at some of those bits of software. The day after, book up an appointment with the company that sells it. You know, break that elephant down into one bite at a time. And what you'll see is you'll start to see that some of the things that you're doing will actually have the effect of reducing all these things that are urgent and not important. So, you know, if you've got a member of your team that you know, but you don't spend much time training them. As soon as you start giving them a little bit of training, then you'll find that they start taking work away from you. They're able to then do things with less help from you. So now you've got less things to do that are urgent but not important, and you've got more time to do important but not urgent. It does not happen overnight, but it is a bit of a snowball. But you know, I know what it's like. I've been on courses before, and I'm at the course, and I've written pages of notes, and I'm so enthusiastic. And then as I'm sort of traveling back from the course, I start to get this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach about how on earth am I going to find the time to do all these things. Amanda and Aisha mentioned return on investment. What thing is going to give you the biggest return on investment? You just got to start there.
So Graham Mitchell's come in with, we've all by necessity turned to the greater use of online and digital solutions, but I've been increasingly bombarded by emails and offers of webinars. So sorry about that, Graham. Do you feel that we risk getting online fatigue? I actually think we do. And I think it's really important to be selective about the ones that you do. You know, I'm sure the same as you, Malcolm. I could be at an online seminar pretty much every day if I wanted to be. You know, a lot of work from home now when we're not in store, even just talking to our own teams and daily customer meetings. So yeah, I think that is a real risk. So one of the things I try to do is just, you know, it would be a maximum of one a week in terms of the online seminars, and realistically probably less than that. That's why we've only done them very sporadically over, I think this is the third or fourth one we've done over the 9 months or whatever it's been now.
I agree. And, one of the great functions of our whatever email package we're using is the right click junk, and my, we when we send out our emails, we make a real point of putting what the email is about in the subject line. Now, we do that deliberately because, there's a lot of people we send those emails to, and it may be that for those people, there's only 1 in 5 of our emails that's relevant to them. So I want them to be able to see that subject line and go, yeah, that's not relevant to me, just delete it. I get emails through from professional firms which says, email newsletter 232. I don't care. I have not got time to read your email newsletter 232. If you say in your subject line, accountants at risk of being prosecuted for doing webinars, I'm going to read it, but if you're sending me stuff through that it's going to waste my time, then I'm going to right click junk. And and over time, you do have to run through your junk box every now and again to make sure something hasn't slipped through, because actually the email telling us that we've made the finalists of the Accounting Excellence Award had gone into my junk box. You just drown in this stuff otherwise. But pick the people that are giving you solutions and information and are actually a good use of your time to read their content, and the rest, right click junk.
And I mean, one of the things we've done as well to make it a bit more palatable is making sure that all colleagues are turning the camera on as well, even just when you're having your daily catch-ups. Yeah. I think it makes it a bit more relaxed and a bit more open. And we've built relationships from scratch with new customers who I've been talking to them since March. They've been banking with us since April. And, for the best will in the world, we haven't been able to meet face to face for whatever reason, but I've built a really strong relationship through video calls.
Yeah,
so there can be real positives to it.
Yeah, James, I got introduced to somebody in probably about late April with a whole load of problems, these two directors. And we had, 10, 12 meetings on Zoom working our way through this. And they came in to see me in the 3rd week of August into the office, and it felt like I was meeting a pen pal that I'd been in contact with. I wanted to give them a big hug because I've got to know them over these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, the camera's crucial in that regard, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Well, I also quite like seeing that you've turned your, your spare room into a studio and what have you as well. I think it's great seeing everyone's different backgrounds. We had one of our asset finance colleagues, he was having his roof redone. So he had all these cables and different things hanging down. It's an interesting insight into people's lives, I think.
Yeah, we were having daily board meetings at the start, and one of my partners was chatting away to the rest of us, and what we saw and she didn't was her 7-year-old walked up beside her with some kind of plastic gun, which he fired at her mid-sentence, and she nearly leapt out of her chair. So that was
superb. Yeah. If anyone else has questions, please put them in. But if not, thank you very much for helping to organise this. To everyone at A4G. I think it's been really beneficial, and I'm sure we'll look to do another one in a couple of months. Probably, I guess maybe end of January when things are coming to an end. The bounce back loan scheme might be coming back to an end. Obviously, we've got furlough in place till March, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months. And best of luck to everyone.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having us on the webinar. So,
cheers.
All right.